Good morning. My name is Joyce Fox. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, the year 2003. I'm here to interview Richard Schauseil, who is a liberator of the Nazi Holocaust. I'm doing this under the auspices of the Holocaust Documentation and Education Center, Incorporated. The purpose of this interview is to add to the oral history of the Holocaust so that through this living memorial, future generations will know what happened. With this knowledge, we hope to prevent any such occurrence in the future. Mr. Schauseil, I'm going to call you Richard, and excuse me for fumbling over your name.
That's quite all right.
Can you tell me what your full name is?
Richard J. Schauseil.
And where do you live now?
Miami.
Have you lived here for a long time?
Since 1959.
And what is your date of birth?
1/21/26.
And where were you born?
In Rochester, New York.
And you were raised in?
Rochester, New York.
Are you working now?
Yes, I work at the Ingram Building part-time now.
Okay. And what do you do there?
I run the freight elevator.
What was your profession at the beginning of the war?
I played I was a musician, and I played drums.
And how old were you when you entered the war? When did you enter? When were you?
When they drafted me?
No, did they draft you?
Yes.
And they drafted you in what year?
1944. Yeah.
So that when you liberated the concentration camp, you were one year older.
Yes.
So you were, okay, that was 1945, and since you were born in 26, you were 19 years old, right?
Correct.
What military unit were you assigned to at the time of this liberation?
I was in the 11th Iron Division, 42nd Tank Battalion.
What tank battalion?
42nd Tank Battalion.
And what was your rank?
Company D.
Okay.
And my rank at the time was private.
And what was your function at that time?
Well, I was a tank driver when we entered the camp. I was an assistant driver up to that time, and they call him the bow gunner, who's got a 30 caliber machine gun that you use.
What was the name of the camp that you liberated?
Mauthausen in Austria.
Did you know that there were concentration camps in the area?
Oh yeah, because when we were on our way in battle, we bypassed a couple of camps.
How did you know that?
All because the refugees were coming out of these camps. Basically, we were not in the direct vicinity of the camps, but we saw all these refugees heading away from the Germans and trying to get back to their country through the Russians.
Did you hear how did you hear about the camps? Did people tell you, or did
No, they had the big K's on the back of their, not uniforms, but their clothing.
K?
Yeah. I believe that was for...
But there was something that was written on the back of their clothing?
Yeah.
And how did you know that that identified them as refugees or prisoners?
Because they were coming past where we were stationed overnight one night, and by talking to some of them through an interpreter, we had people that spoke German, Russian, French, Polish, and that when they found out that most of these people came from Poland, Hungary, some in Germany, and in Romania. That's about, we did recognize I can tell you one story that when we were bivouacked overnight, we saw these 3 supposedly German civilians, and right behind them was about 5 or 6 the people, the refugees with the K's on their back, and one of the German soldiers came up to my lieutenant and said, you got to take us under the, what do you call it, of war?
Protection of, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, you're on your own. And that's when the refugees came and took the knife out of the German captains, and they killed them, all 3 of them. And that's when we finally realized that we were in the vicinity of a lot of concentration camps.
Took you a while to believe those stories until that happened, huh?
Yeah.
What did you expect that you would find in a camp if you went into it? Did you have any idea at that time?
No.
How did you feel when you were about to enter the camp? Were you driving the tank?
No. We came in the second wave. The infantry company took them, and then we came because we couldn't drive the tanks inside the compound. That's when we got out on foot, and that's when we mingled with the refugees inside. And
Can you tell me, how was the camp enclosed?
barbed wire.
Was it electrified?
That I do not know. They had 2 sets of barbed wires with a walkway that supposedly had the German soldiers with their dogs walking in between, so they could view the inside of the barracks, etc.
Was anyone guarding the camp when you arrived?
No, we had overcome the German. The infantry company did that. I'm trying to think of the name. Maybe the one from Ohio.
This camp that you liberated, Mauthausen, do you remember when?
No, it was the end of the war, more or less.
Late April, early May?
Yeah. War ended, I think, May the 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So it would have to be
The last week or whatever of...
April?
Yeah.
You say the camp was in Austria. Do you know what large city it was near? Or was it near any city?
I can't remember right now.
Were all the people in the camp Jews, or were they political prisoners, or gypsies, or military people, or what?
I think that Germans picked up whoever they wanted to pick up and just put them in the camp. There were a lot of Jews in there, and Polish people, like I said.
The Poles were not Jews?
Probably.
Yeah.
Some Czechs.
Where were the prisoners when you came in?
They were getting out of their barracks, and because the infantry went in and chased the Germans out or shot them. So
Can you describe the sounds that you heard when you got there? Smells?
the smell, yeah.
What did it smell like?
Dead bodies.
What about the sanitation conditions?
I don't think there were any sanitation conditions.
Did you see any food?
No.
Did you go into a barracks and see the
Yes.
sleeping arrangements?
Yes.
Could you describe that?
Well, they had bunks, and some of them, and then they took out every morning, so I was told by the refugees inside the camp, to some of the people, and they said, here's a towel, here's some soap, we're going to put you in where you can take a nice shower, and they get them inside the barracks, and they gassed them
In a barracks?
inside the barracks.
Did they have one special barracks that they used for gassing?
I don't think so. I was only in one of them. I didn't have a tour, you know.
No, I'm shy. They didn't have a guide, right? Did you see a crematoria?
Yes.
How did you feel at that point? Can you remember what was going through your mind?
It's hard to describe it because when you see these the men refugees weighing about 40 to 50 pounds and nothing but bones, and some of them, even when I was trying to help some of them, they even probably dead in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So then that's when our officers told us, please do not get near the prisoners. They carry a disease and you're liable to pick it up and carry it back to your soldiers that we sent.
Was the Red Cross, were there any medical people there?
We had our own medical people and they tried to administer whatever they could.